Hi everyone and welcome back to Thrifted Living. My name is Kieran. So today is going to be another weekly decluttering video, and this one's going to be a little different because I definitely had a big change in my decluttering this week, and I just want to talk a little bit with you guys about what happened and just almost sort of like analyze out loud with you guys myself, sort of like what happened and how I can, help it in the future and everything. So if you're new here, I have been on the journey of decluttering and organizing my home. I'm a teacher, so I'm on summer vacation right now, and I'm petting my mom's dog right now. My mom passed unexpectedly in January, and we have a lot of the contents of her home here. Like I said, I have my mom's dog. I'm sure she'll make an appearance in this video. Sort of like going through all of our stuff, plus going through all of her stuff. I've also been kind of struggling with buying too much, especially since she passed. I sort of went on a shopping spree, not really, but like a thrifting spree, where I felt like I needed every little thing at the thrift store. So I have gone to the thrift store a few times to drop stuff off, but I've only bought one or two things over the past several weeks, and they're like books for my students. Last week, I shared with you a video about how I cleaned out the spare bedroom, cleaned off the dining room table, did all of this stuff because my sister and her husband were coming into town. I wanted to make sure they had a place to sleep. I took pretty much everything that was in the craft, or everything that was in our spare bedroom, put it in the craft room, just so they could have a place to sleep. And same thing, everything that was on the dining room table, brought it upstairs into the craft room so we'd have a place to, kind of make it so we could put all of our stuff there, have meals there, stuff like that. What I didn't really realize until this week was that last week I was definitely manic. I've talked about before how I struggle with bipolar disorder, and I'm still new to understanding like the signs that I'm either struggling with mania or depression. I've had this diagnosis for just a couple years, and so I'm still trying to like separate what are qualities of my personality versus what are qualities of the disorder that I struggle with. So last week I talked with you guys about how I decluttered, I was cleaning and everything. I probably went to the thrift store and dropped off stuff like 6 or 7 times. But in addition to that, I was cleaning upwards of 12 hours a day. Like, I would stop and eat and stuff like that, but I was like up at 8, cleaning until 8 or longer. When I had to sit down, when it was time for me to eat or time for me to, rest, I had a really hard time, especially when it was like nighttime trying to rest. I would find myself cleaning until 11 to 12 o'clock at night. Part of me is thinking, that was probably because I wanted to make sure the space was clean for my sister and her husband, but I was manic. Like there's no question about it. I was cleaning for like 12, 13 hours a day for several days last week. I actually met with my psychiatrist as well. We talked a lot about that, and we actually talked about a change in medication. I'm not changing any of my current medications per se, but the amount that I'm taking, that has been helpful. And if you're interested in learning any more about that, I do have lots of videos about my struggles with mental health disorders. Feel free to watch those videos if you're interested. Another reason I know that I was so manic last week is because this week I have been exhausted. I've been having a really, really hard time waking up in the morning, a really hard time staying awake all day. I kind of just recognized at the end of this week that it's been more of a depressive week for me. I felt like I definitely was nonstop getting ready for my sister and her husband to come and stay with us. Part of it, I think, was feeling like I had a timeline for them to come over, but the amount and the intensity that I was doing of the cleaning and decluttering was abnormal. This week, the decluttering went a little bit differently. So I spent some time with my sister this past week, and we were able to go through some of the kids' clothing, my niece and nephew, and that was really helpful because it wasn't me feeling like I was going through my spaces and trying to clear everything out. It just felt better that it was somebody else's space, and it felt good that I was helping somebody else declutter their space, and then I was able to actually take those items and bring them to the thrift store, because I know a lot of the time when people are decluttering, you can make the piles and you can fill the bags and fill the boxes, but it's actually getting the stuff to the thrift store that can be really challenging. I was happy to be able to do that for them. I feel like it's kind of fun to declutter with somebody else because you're having that conversation about the stuff, and you're, looking at everything together and just talking about, especially my niece and nephew's clothing, because it's like, oh, I remember when they wore that. So that was kind of fun in a way. I really didn't do much at home this week, mainly in terms of decluttering. I mainly focused on keeping everything the same, if that makes sense. I've been trying to, you know, every day keep up with the dishes, keep up with the laundry, keep up with, you know, just daily cleaning tasks. Pip is semi-pad trained, puppy pad trained. We're working on her going outside to go to the bathroom, which she kind of understands, but she doesn't understand the ability to tell us when she needs to go to the bathroom, barking or going to the door or anything. So it's more or less us just taking her out all the time, and then she just happens to go when she's outside. Needless to say, she has a lot of accidents. And so trying to keep up with her and all of the messes that she's making. I'm happy that I was able to sort of not to go through both phases of, you know, mania and depression while decluttering, but at the same time I kind of am, because it's helpful for me to see what my signs of mania are and what my signs of depression are. The hard part that I'm dealing with right now is what to do when I have those signs. Like, I'm able to identify them a little bit more, but I don't have like the coping skills yet to how to de-escalate myself when I'm manic and how to help myself when I'm depressed. And that's something that I think is really like the second step of understanding like a mental health condition. I was able to identify that I was manic, but only once I was in the depressed part of it. It's like after the fact. So I'm trying to help myself understand the mania when it's happening and understand the depression when it's happening. Like I said, coping skills and stuff like that is still really hard for me, because when I feel that way, it feels like the only possible way to feel, if that makes sense. My brain can't think of any other situation in life aside from how I'm feeling in that moment. I lose some of my insight when I'm experiencing those things. From what I understand of insight, it's the ability to understand your disorder and to understand the impact of your disorder on your life and be able to disconnect that. Even if you're struggling with symptoms, the ability to say, okay, this is part of my obsessive compulsive disorder. Not that the symptoms don't happen, but still experience it. With my obsessive compulsive disorder, I've gotten really good at separating myself from it, and I have really good insight with my obsessive compulsive disorder. But since the bipolar disorder diagnosis is still relatively new, I feel like I lose some of my insight on what I'm experiencing until I flip, until I go to the opposite end of the disorder. And it's not always a full jump from one side to the other. Sometimes it's a jump from mania to baseline, or a jump from mania to depression. So all of that to say, a lot of decluttering didn't really happen this week because I kind of jumped from mania to depression. I just needed to let my body relax. I just needed to let my mind relax. I know this video has sort of turned into a mental health discussion, but I'm grateful that I'm able to identify my baseline a little bit more easily now. But the thing is with the bipolar disorder and with mental health disorders is they are so tricky. Like, they're so convincing, you know. I've done a lot of work with my obsessive compulsive disorder where I feel like I have more control of that, and I understand it more thoroughly, and I'm able to, I have more insight and I'm able to handle it differently. But with the bipolar disorder, the mania makes, like, I'm so convinced of what I'm feeling when I'm manic, if that makes sense. I'm so convinced of, you know, I need to clean the entire house. I need to cook all the food. I need to do all of these things in one day or in 1 hour. And in my brain, it's like, literally, there's no other option. You have to do this right now. I feel like I'm still new to understanding bipolar disorder. And that's why I feel like I get a little caught up sometimes, because I'm just still struggling with understanding it. I had the mania and now I'm a little bit more closer to baseline, maybe more a little depressed. But looking back on the week now, I needed this time to calm and to reevaluate how I'm going about all of this and to remind myself of why I'm doing this. I think last week I was talking a lot about, you know, separating things and thinking about them and like, okay, am I going to use this? What sentimental value does it have? And I feel like last week when I talked about it, I was definitely more of the mindset, immediately, if you don't think it's gonna work, if you have no connection, you know, donate it. I feel like that was my mindset last week, but now my mindset is a little more of take my time. I know this kind of turned into a mental health discussion. Sort of the situation that has gotten me here to this place with all of this stuff, I feel is definitely connected to my mental health state and, you know, my struggles with collecting tendencies, I guess you'll call it. Where I'm at and what I'm working to work through is directly connected with my mental health. Talking about mental health in this decluttering series, it's hand in hand with mental health. I wanted to just share with you really quickly what the spare bedroom looks like, talk about a pile of clothing that's in the spare bedroom, and just sort of give you an update of what that space looks like right now. So I didn't get a lot done this week with decluttering at my own home like I talked about in the video. I was helping my sister, but I did get a couple things set up in the spare bedroom. Right here I was able to make the bed because my sister Keely and her husband were staying over, so I washed all the linen and everything and made the bed, so that's all set. Just picked up a couple things that were on the floor, and the main thing I still have to go through is this over here. So this actually has already been gone through. It has all of my fall stuff, fall and winter stuff. I went through my closet recently. I got rid of a lot of stuff that I knew I wouldn't want for fall and winter, but I want to bring this stuff upstairs. The door to the attic is in the craft room, and I really can't get into the craft room again because I put everything that was in here in the craft room so that Keely and Jorge could have a place to stay. So I can't get to the attic to bring this upstairs. I also, when I am able to get up to the attic to put this with my fall stuff, I want to go through all of that fall stuff as well. So right now it's just sitting on this chair in here, but I've organized it, I've gone through it. I might go through it again just to be a little more critical about what's in there that I don't want. But overall, this room, you know, can be used even if we had a guest come over tomorrow. You know, there's all that stuff on the chair, but I don't think they would mind. Didn't get a whole lot done this week, but I'm happy with the little bit that I was able to do in here. Thank you so much for watching this video. So many of you have been commenting about how you're working on decluttering some of your spaces. So best of luck to you in the work you're doing in your home or your living situation. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.